Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be playing some Factorio. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. We'll get out of here, and we'll actually do PS4 stuff. All right, let's get rid of that. All right, so we'll get started on some exploit dev stuff. Some of you may have noticed on Twitter I put out the POC for what I've been working on the streams for the BSD kernel exploit. I did actually manage to stabilize that better. On my streams before, I got around 30 to 40% reliability. Retro Gamer tried it on his system and he couldn't get it to trigger, so I ended up looking at it and seeing if I could make it more stable. And I was able to make it more stable. I'll show you guys what results I ended up getting for those who are curious. I haven't updated the gist paste yet or whatever, but yeah, this is the stability I ended up getting. So this was kind of like these top ones were kind of what we were getting on stream before. We were getting like 30 to 40% pretty consistently. When I ended up changing to TCP packets, I don't know why, but that stability ended up going up even further. By the way, let me know, is this stream quality okay for you guys? On my view, it looks kind of bad, but I think that might be my internet just not. It's hard to tell. Oh, okay, actually, it's fine. It was just Twitch being dumb. Yeah, so I don't know why, but using TCP packets for the spray instead of UDP packets seemed to make a difference. I guess I don't know if it's because I would think TCP packets would take longer to spray than UDP packets would, because TCP packets have like the additional checksums and all that stuff going into it, right? But for whatever reason, TCP packets just work better. So I guess I'll continue to use them. I was just kind of experimenting to see. The other thing that's interesting too is with TCP packets, our data doesn't end up getting aligned to that hex 4C boundary. It gets aligned to like hex 100. So we don't have to worry about the shift or the off by 4 that we had before either. So that was cool to take out of the struct. We don't have to worry about the struct packing or anything like that. TCP more consistent spray. Yeah, I don't know exactly why. It's one of those programmer memes where it's like, it works, I don't know why, but I'm just going to leave it the way it is, because I don't want to mess with it. The other thing that made a significant difference is increasing the spray size. Before I was spraying hex A0 function pointers, which is like hex 500 bytes. Now I'm spraying the entire size of the file pointer stack. I'm spraying hex FD, or 253 fake file pointers, which works out to hex 7E8 bytes. Before, I could have swore that I observed that increasing the spray size actually decreased stability because it takes longer to spray them, but combined with the TCP change, it kind of melded together to form a stability improvement. The other thing that made a difference was removing the delay inside of the initial spray to get the overlap. So what I'm talking about there is this spray right here that was in the first spray that we do to try to tag UDP packets. When I remove this sleep, it increased the stability a lot. I don't actually know why on this point either. I can only speculate. My speculation is that it's the exploit runs quicker because it doesn't have those sleeps in the loop, and there's less time for other processes to kick in and like put stuff on our free list, which was the big problem with stability. The problem with stability was mainly when we got to thread 2. So thread 2 will try to cause the UAF and reallocate right away. The problem was there were frees happening in between, so we had to pop all the stuff that got added on the free list before we got to our actual UAF pointer. My speculation is that by removing the sleeps here, because the process is running quicker, that isn't happening as much. That's my theory. I don't know if it's actually why. That's just the best that I can think of. when you're talking about like race conditions and such a complex system state, it's hard to say definitively why like certain things are the way they are. Like a lot of the time, especially with races, it's literally just try things until you observe a difference. It is very much trial and error, because the system, like as much as computers are deterministic, the system state on a multi-processor system nowadays is not deterministic, not even close. Um, Between like you can have the exact same system state at 1 second, and then the next second, if you did like a snapshot, it's never going to be the same because the scheduler is going to choose a different time to run something, or some process is going to get scheduled that's going to do something with memory. Like it's never going to be consistent. So with races, it's a little bit, you can try to observe patterns and try to use that for where you go with trial and error, but you're never going to actually know how stable a path is until you've walked down it, basically. Idle isn't a thing anymore. Yeah, exactly. I mean, on a single processor, you're never going to have two threads that are running at the exact same time. People kind of think that's how it works with multi-threading, but that's not how it works. What happens is one process, or your currently running process, is going to get put to sleep, and another process runs for like a few nanoseconds or whatever, and then switches back. You kind of get slices of a pie of the execution time. But when you have multiple processors, that's no longer true, because well, that might be true on a single core, but then the cores are then working together. So you can have like you can have two processes running at exactly the same time on two different cores, for example. That's cool and all, but get on Fortnite. I don't think I'm ever gonna touch that game. Just just being honest with you. For the same reason the hardware schedulers are rarely reliable. I mean, I don't know any kernels which solely rely just on hardware schedulers and user runtime. Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Is there's a lot of different scheduling uh types that you can do, right? There's like round robin. There's I think there's like 3 or 4 main ones that are used by operating systems today. So your behavior is also going to depend on the scheduler implementation too. So yeah, but just by trying playing around with it a little bit, I managed to get a consistent trigger on the FreeBSD VM. I don't. It's yeah. I didn't run it. I had to shut it down to remove a serial port. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've gotten pretty consistent on the VM, which is good. I might try to run it once here just to see. But yeah, like with my stability results that I had, I ran it 10 times, and I had failed twice. So that's a pretty decent success rate, honestly. Um, and that's the other thing too that's like really annoying with races that I'll quickly touch on. Because there's so much variance, you can't really rely on a small sample size. You can't run an exploit like 3 times and go, okay, I'm going to use these samples for my stability calculation. Like minimum for me is 10. And when I say 10, I mean full reboot cycles, running it and then rebooting again. Um, 10 is like my minimum sample size. So because I was testing multiple changes, I did 10 tests on each change, basically, which is very time consuming. But it kind of removes the variance that could end up making you think it's more or less stable than it actually is. Because I've had a kernel exploit, like the 5.05 exploit is like the most stable exploit I've seen on PS4. That exploit, I've ran it like 60 times, no problems. There's other times where I've ran it like 4 or 5 times and I had to keep rebooting and it wouldn't work. It's kind of interesting with like probabilities how you get these strings of bad luck or good luck. It's like it's never really interleaved much. Um, yeah, we'll see if we can quickly run the exploit here. Build run. We'll see if that ends up running. We got the overlap, so that's usually a good sign. That of course, when I go to run it on stream, it fails. We'll try it once more, but I'm not gonna worry too much about the BSDVM stuff. We've spent a lot of time on that. We're gonna start on the PS4 port today, which means our beep counter is back. We are gonna have the beep counter running. I have the PS4 going. Warning in advance, when I have the PS4 going, sometimes it is difficult for me to keep up with chat. Mainly because I use like one monitor pretty much for the stream and seeing chat and when things come in. That monitor is now going to be occupied by the PS4 screen because I have to switch the input on it. So if I am late to messages or if I miss messages more often than usual, I apologize. That's why. So let's give this another run here. See if it goes. Hello, everyone. Made my first assembly program today, or set of instructions. Nice, dude. Yeah, of course. When I'm running it on stream, it's not going to work right now, but it is decently stable from my tests. It's just being annoying right now. I'm hitting that bad luck streak, I guess, that I just talked about. And again, I've said it on previous streams, but I'll say it again. I think on PS4 this will be more bearable because I think there's less movement in the embuff zone, so shouldn't be as bad on PS4. But we will have to implement it and see. We'll give this one more attempt. If we just get unlucky again and fail, then oh well. We'll move on. But just to show, I just want to see if I can show people kind of what the panic looks like if they haven't seen past streams. But it's being a little bit finicky at the moment. There we go. Yeah, so we triggered the Hex 4-1 panic. It was there for a brief second. If you didn't see it, I don't blame you. It's literally like up for a fraction of a second, but it showed the instruction pointer equals the AAA. So yeah, we're all good. And you can see right away what I was talking about with like that sampling bias. Like if I only ran that exploit 3 times when I was doing my testing, because it's so susceptible to extremes, like I would have thought, well, this is only 33% successful, right? But when I ran it 10 times, I got 80% success. So you really have to use a lot of samples when you're testing that kind of thing. Anybody who wants to get into exploit dev and especially wants to do like race condition stuff, make sure you take samples and actually jot down what's happening, and don't try to like keep it in your head because you will fool yourself and you will probably go down rabbit holes going that route. Log down your results. Makes it so much easier to try to make changes that'll actually make an impact. And even 10 isn't a huge amount. Yeah, exactly. I mean, ideally, if I was testing for like a full, like if I actually really cared about stability on the VM and I wasn't just doing this for a PS4 port, I'd probably test it like 30, 40, maybe even 50 times before I actually said conclusively what the stability was. So, all right, we'll move on to PS4. So I've cleaned up the directory a little bit for this. Cleaned out all the shit that I had in here before because we're gonna start fresh. We have a POC to work with, so we'll just work on starting the port for that POC and see what happens. We may have to adjust timings or spray sizes or whatever, but you know, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. I am gonna move my POC into here as well, just so that it is readily available in VS Code. There it is. Yeah, that way we don't have to switch between multiple editors. So there's one thing I want to start with before I get into implementing the full exploit, and that is checking message peaking. So for those who were around for some of the earlier streams that we did with Teamstar, you may remember I tried peaking packets out of a socket, and it didn't work. It just returned like 0 or something. It was really weird. Now that could have been because I was misusing it. I was missing some line of code that would have made it work. At the time I said that it seems like it doesn't work on the PS4, but that doesn't make sense because Thersgovi's POC does do peaking. And it runs on the PS4, obviously. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure I figure out that issue first, and then we'll get into the beep cycle, you know. Anyone here know why compile time cannot depend directly on memory schedule interrupts? Uh, anyone know why compile time cannot depend directly? I'm not really sure what you're asking exactly. Maybe if you could rephrase it, I'd like to try to answer that because it is an interesting question. I will say on the scheduling angle, like how schedulers work and how memory at that low of a level, I am pretty not experienced. I don't go that low of a level, so but it is fun. Like I do like learning about that low of a level. So depending on what you're testing a regular tool, you can just put in a while true loop and run your exploit a bunch of times to see what happens. Kernel exploit stuff like this is hella annoying because you need to reboot or at least restore from a saved state. And PS4 is even more janky. Yeah, exactly. I would say that is the biggest change. People often ask like what's the difference between userland exploitation and kernel exploitation? On the exploitation and the vulnerability angle, not much honestly. The types of issues you're looking for, like you have the same bug classes, the same techniques still apply. You're still doing like keep spraying and all that kind of stuff. But what really changes is the testing angle. Testing kernel is so much harder. Where in user space you can just run it, and if it crashes, oh well, start it again. Uh, that's not so simple in kernel. If you blow up the kernel, that's your operating system. You have to restart the entire computer or the entire VM. Um, I will recommend if anybody is looking to get into kernel exploitation, use VMware. Save yourself the trouble, because VMware paid. I don't think the free version has it, but the like pro version of VMware, you can create snapshots. And when you're doing exploit, authoring kernel exploits, and you want to test to see if like you've fixed a crash that you're having or something, restoring from snapshots is a lot faster than rebooting the entire system. A snapshot will basically look at the hard drive state, the memory state, the CPU state, and it will save it to a file, right? So then if you crash the system, you can just kind of reflash the system state and go back. It's very quick, and it allows you to do quick testing. I will quickly state though, do not use snapshots when you're trying to estimate stability. If you are just trying to benchmark the stability of your exploits, don't use snapshots. It will be quicker to get your sampling, you'll like your samples, but they're going to be disingenuous because you're relying on a system state that isn't fresh. You're using an already, like you're using the same system state for every test. Not the exact same system state, but one that's tied to one that's the same across all samples. So there's a problem there, right? Your stability is not going to be accurate. It might be close, but it's not going to be accurate. So snapshots for debugging and testing, full reboots for stability is what I recommend if you're doing kernel exploits. Somebody said VMware VirtualBox. VMware, there's literally nothing the VirtualBox provides that's better than VMware. VirtualBox is, the performance is worse because it doesn't have the integration with Hyper-V. You do not have snapshotting capability. From what I remember, it also is, you can't do nested virtualization in VirtualBox. At least last I tried. Maybe you can now, or maybe you could then, and I just didn't know how to make it work. But you can do nested virtualization in VMware. Basically, if you're going to do any level of virtualization on a regular basis, buy VMware. It is pretty much the only like top tier virtualization product outside of maybe Hyper-V, but I like VMware more than Hyper-V too. And VMware Workstation is really not that expensive. It's a one-time purchase for like that major version, and it's like, I think it was like 150 or $200. It's honestly like it's a steal if you're doing virtualization stuff a lot. Um, somebody put in quotes buy. I mean, yeah, you can get it other ways. You know, I'm not gonna advocate for that, obviously, though, on the stream. Thoughts on QEMU? KVM on other OSs. I do use QEMU as well. I do use it for not for like exploit testing as much, but more for like it. I think QEMU is really useful for integrating with tools. If you're going to be writing a tool that's doing automated testing using virtual machines, QEMU is awesome, right? And that's the reason why like syscaller, for those that don't know, that's a Linux kernel fuzzer. That's going to be using QEMU. They do support some other options as well, but QEMU is really good for like integrating with tools, I think. Kenji, thank you for the 100 bits. Appreciate it. What is QEMU and KVM? QEMU is an emulation software. KVM is another emulation software. And well, they're two different types. I don't want to go too much into it because it's kind of out of scope for what we're doing on the stream. When you have hypervisors for virtualization, there's multiple types you can have. There's something called a Type 2 hypervisor, which runs in user space, which is what QEMU is. QEMU you can run in user space. KVM runs in kernel space. It's a Type 1 hypervisor, which technically, like KVM is going to be more performant because it's running in the kernel end. But like there's advantages and disadvantages of both. But I don't want to go into the like hypervisor types on stream. What do you use to take notes? Depends. Sometimes if it's something that's like volatile and I just need it for the moment and I don't intend to keep it long term, I will just use notepad.exe. Seriously. Like, and I do that on purpose to make it so I can't open multiple tabs and keep things open forever like I do in Sublime Text. For more permanent notes, I do like to use Sublime Text. If I'm SSH'd into a server or something, then I'll use Nano. Nano up. Yeah, it's not really consistent what I use to take notes. Me and my 800 Sublime Text tabs. Oh yeah. When I have to shut down my system for like a Windows update or something, it's horrible because I literally have over 100 Sublime Text tabs between multiple windows, and I have to close them all, and most of them are unsaved, and it's a total mess. So yeah, we're gonna get started on trying the peak stuff. So let me just set up, get my setup here. I'm going to put my POC up on a separate screen just so I can reference it. You guys won't be able to see it, but just so you guys know, if it doesn't seem like I'm doing anything on the stream, it's just because I'm referencing that POC. All right. So yeah, first I just want to test if the peaking stuff works. So we're going to need a function to create UDP loopback sockets, just like we have in the POC, right? We have the create UDP loopback sock. So this is what we'll port first. We'll make a primitive to do this. Z just mentioned Obsidian. That is something I've just started trying. I have started using Obsidian like a day or two ago, and I do like it. I think it's very useful. That said, I don't use it exclusively. So let's do var create UDP loopback sock equals function. All right. So what are we doing in here? We're gonna do var s equals p.syscall syssocket. We're gonna create these sockets as AF inet sock dgram 0. So we're gonna use UDP sockets. Right now, I don't have these constants in the JavaScript file. I will pull those afterwards. I just kind of want to get the code written, and then, I'll deal with the constant shit after. Up next is getting the bind working. For that, I think I will reference the code that I had already written with Teamstar, just to speed it up a little bit, which I do have as well. Okay, so, and that has to change too. So what we're doing here is we're allocating a buffer for the spray socket or the address size. We're allocating the address and we're writing in the inet family on the loopback interface. That's essentially what we're doing there. Is there something I'm missing? I think this is probably. I think that's good because we ran that and it worked fine on the PS4 before. All right, so next thing we want to do is bind this socket to localhost. So we'll do p.syscall sys bind s, and we'll do spray socket address. Actually, in here we don't even need to do it like that. We'll just keep it simple. Right? And then the next thing we have to pass to bind is the size, which we'll do p.read 8 address size. Right? Since we've already written that there. After we bind it, we have to get the socket name. So we'll do sys get sock name s on the address that we set up, and the address size, that's passed as a pointer, not as a direct size value. And then we're going to connect it. So we'll do sys connect. And that's going to take the socket, the address, and the address size again. All right, that should create, bind, and connect a UDP socket to localhost. So we'll give that a test. We'll take the Teamstar route of doing some test-driven development. So we'll do debug log UDP spray socket equals create UDP back socket. See what happens. See if we made any mistakes. So we'll bring up the kernel log because for those who weren't here for some of the earlier streams, Flat set us up with a very nice debug logging primitive. You can see right here that works through the mdebug service syscall, so that we can basically do userland prints into the kernel log. That way we don't have to deal with networking, which adds noise into our exploit. So kernel log is up on the top right, and I'm going to switch over to the PS4 on this monitor, and we'll get started on testing. Oh, I did forget to add the inet constant. I gotta go get that. AF inet. 71. Oh, right, it's just 2. I thought it was a higher number because inet 6 is like, isn't it like 28? Yeah, 28. But it's just 2 here. Okay. Do I have any of the... No, I got rid of all the constants that I had. Okay, that's fine. So var AF inet equals 2. That should fix that problem. Somebody asked in chat, UDP or TCP? We're actually using both. In my POC, we use UDP sockets for some of the sprays, and for some of the other sprays, we use TCP socket pairs. And then for the double free, we use the raw socket. We're using 3 different types of sockets, all in the POC. It is a little bit crazy, but yeah, right now we're just working with the UDP socket. Oh, did I forget the sock dgram constant too? God damn it. Yeah, I did too. Okay. That's fine. We'll get that. Oh, that's 2 as well. Okay. Okay, we created the UDP socket. 11 looks like a valid value. Because yeah, the file descriptors do start a little bit higher than you might expect on PS4 sometimes because of all the other stuff that it might have open, especially the browser. I just want to make sure. You know what? I want to gauge how many sockets we can open actually on PS4 because I don't remember. I feel like I did check before what the limit was, but I don't remember what it is. So for those who don't know, when you're talking about like BSD and well any Unix-based system, there's going to be limits on how many sockets you can open, and there's multiple layers of limits. There's going to be a limit on how many sockets or files in general that Userland can open as a whole, like a user. There's going to be a limit as well on how many a specific process can open. Now, normally on a normal system, you can kind of influence those limits. It's called like the R limit or whatever. On PS4, you probably can't because that's not something that I would see Sony allowing people to do. Alika, welcome in. Nice to see you were able to join us. U limit, I think. Uh, the terminology is a little bit weird. On Linux, it is called the U limit. I think, or I think the U limit is the user limit that they can all access. The R limit is the per process limit. And because there's other things that are limited on a per process basis, right? Not just the number of files, but there's like how much memory they can use and stuff. Like that's all set in the R or resource limit. So it's a little bit confusing to navigate. So yeah, let's see how many sockets we can actually open before the system just tells us no. So let's try like 2048. That's probably a good starting point. So we'll do I equals I. So let's see how many we can get away with. Okay. After 41, or sorry, after 48, I get a type error in JavaScript, which is probably WebKit instability. Attempt to assign read-only property. I don't really know why that happens. It's really annoying. And 41 sockets is not a lot. So let's hope that was a one-time thing. No, I keep getting it at 48 sockets. Oh, you know what? I think we can fix that though. So with WebKit, you kind of have to be willing to do some optimizations on your end. You can't just do whatever you want like you can in C because WebKit is a pain in the ass. I do a malloc in a loop inside of the create loopback socket. I don't have to do this. This address only has to be written once. So I'll move this outside of the function, and we'll do it that way. That will probably increase the stability because then we're just issuing syscalls, so it's not doing as much on a per function basis. Yeah, you can see already before we were stopping at 48, now we're making it to over 100. So, are you testing on 5.05? Yes, we are. We're on 5.05 right now. Okay, things are looking good. We're up to 300. Keep it going. See how far we can take it. I don't know how many sockets Slirsgovy uses in his POC. I did look at his PS4 POC briefly, but like very briefly. I didn't really look too much at it. Because his original POC for BSD used like around 2,000 sockets or something. I have a feeling we're not going to be able to use that many on PS4, but I guess we'll find out in less than a minute or two here. When will you port it to upper version? Well, I mean, I guess after I get it working on 5.05. There wouldn't be any sense on porting it before that. Okay, here we go. This is where shit stopped working. We're getting FFs, which means it's failing. So where did we fail? We failed after 1007 sockets. All right. So we can open exactly. You can see like our socket descriptor. It goes up to hex 400 and then it stops. So we can open exactly hex 400 files. It would seem. I will test that again just to make sure that that's not like a variance issue, but I really don't think it is, especially where it stopped exactly on a like an even descriptor. We probably hit the limit. Okay. That's a bit annoying. I did hope to go higher, honestly, because I use quite a bit of sockets in my POC as well. I use let's see how much exactly I use. So I use hex 100 spray sockets, which is 256. I also use the same amount of socket pairs, so that's 512 sockets right there. I also open a bunch of file descriptors and duplicate them for the exploit strategy. So overall, actually, I think I print out my file descriptors I use in the thing. Yeah, I use about 1200 or so file descriptors. So hex 400 gives us, well, we don't exactly get hex 400 because it starts at like 11. So 400 3EF, which is like 1007. So we're a little bit short of the amount of sockets that I use in my POC. That said, I probably do overkill it. I probably don't need that many spray sockets or that many like socket pairs, but we'll see. That is one thing we are going to have to tackle in the porting process. So, we did hit the Fs again. So let me quit the browser. I should have made it exit the loop when it started hitting negative return values, but you know I'm not very smart, so I do dumb things like that a lot. Okay, 1007, and again stopped at exactly hex 400, right? So, all right. Well, we at least have a consistent limit of what we can do, which is good to have. We'll write that down actually. Max 400 FD. So, once again, did we start at hex 11? That's probably consistent too. Yeah, we started at hex 11. 400 minus hex 11 equals 3E. What was it? 3F. Right. All right. So now that we have that written down and we have our spray sockets working, I'm going to attempt to do pushes and peaks for mbuffs on it and see if I can get that working properly. So I'm going to pull out my POC again really quick for reference. So for pushing mbuffs, we just do a send to. It's pretty straightforward, but we will make primitives for that too. So we'll have push mbuff equals function, and this is going to do a p.syscall send this send to. We do need the socket as well, so sock in data size is how I had it done before. All right, so in here we're going to do sock in data size 0, 0, 0. So that's for pushing mbuffs. For popping mbuffs, we're going to do... We're going to take a socket, some out data to pop it into, and size as well. And that's going to be a sys recipe from socket out data size. We're going to pass a message don't wait flag here. That way we're not blocking if there's no messages for us to receive, which I will also have to get the constant for. I'll do that now because if I leave it, I'll forget it again because my memory is awful. 38. That's hex 80 is the flag for that. All right. So that's for popping an mbuff. For peeking an mbuff, it's going to be very similar to pop. So actually, I'll just copy that. Basically, the only difference is we do a message peek flag here, which is probably in the same file. Yeah, hex 2. We got a lot of hex 2 constants going on. All right. So that should give us our push, pop, and peek mbuff primitives. So let's give them a try. Let's see what happens. Alika, thank you for gifting in I8BR. Welcome in, I8BR. VMware is US-based. I'm not 100% certain on where VMware is based. It is kind of an interesting question. VMware. Yeah, their HQ is in California, so they are US based. No Teamstar today. This is a bad time for Teamstar. We're not doing the like scheduled streams anymore, so because of that, it's kind of just whenever he's able to jump on is when he, comes onto the stream. It's early in the morning for him right now. It's like 4 a.m. or something for him. So usually Teamstar is on when I do the later like Australian special streams. Like there's been some days where I've streamed at 1 or not 1, but like 2 or 3 in the morning Eastern. And those are usually the streams where he's able to jump on because he's like waking up and sees that we're streaming and he's able to jump in. I think we will try to do a synced up stream with him around this time towards the end. That way we can do at least one more with him for, the Western Hemisphere bros. But yeah, it's tough to coordinate with Teamstar and get him on all the time because we're so far apart geographically. Syncing up is really difficult. Germany is also CET, so 1 a.m. Oh, is it only 1 a.m.? I thought it was later for them, but yeah, I mean, overall, it's just he might not even be sleeping. He might be just winding down, right? Like it's kind of unreasonable for him to drop whatever he's doing and expect him to come on when it's that late in the evening. So, 1:13 a.m. Okay. Damn, Google Dark Mode. Yeah, this is an extension that I really like. I started doing it on the streams because people were getting blinded by the Watson source cross-reference. This is a really cool extension. I really like it. It does break on some websites. Like on Twitter, it goes berserk and breaks everything. But it's very easy to like toggle on and off. So it's not really a problem. All right, so let's try doing some peeking and pushing. We're not expecting any strange behavior here. We're not triggering the double free. So should work as if I were running it on like a normal system, no exploit or anything. So we'll do 0, this is 128. And in this loop, we're going to do a push mbuff. What did I write there? Well, actually, we'll write up our tag spray. That way we can just kind of carry that over for when we do get into the exploit portion. So let me just reference exactly what I did there. Yeah, so I just pushed the iterator. What I want to see is the size, because the sizes are actually important for the mbuffs. They do make a difference. So I want to make sure I get the tagged packet size proper. Right. So what I had here was an int tag packet 49. So what we'll do is outside of this loop, I'll do a var tag packet equals p.malloc 49 times 4. It's an integer, it's 4 bytes wide. And then in the loop, we'll do a p.write4 tag packet dot add 320 I. And then when we push the mbuff, we're going to push on. Actually, I need to change this. I don't actually save the sockets that I create in the loop above here, so let me just do that really quick. UDP socks 128. Oh, yeah. I'm so used to C, man. I'm used to C, so it's messing me up. Yeah, you don't do it like that in JavaScript. Man, when I switch between languages, I get so messed up. It's so consistent, too. Xpreeks, welcome in with the Twitch Prime. Thank you for subbing in. Recently bought the new Xbox wireless headset. So far, it's right on PC. Mostly bought it for USB-C. What is that responding to? Good thing we don't have to correct our clocks by hand. Oh, is this like related to a convo that happened off stream? I think I'm missing some context because I'm a little bit confused. I must be missing context. Okay, we're writing into tag packet the tag or the iterator, and then in here I need to make it so UDP socks I equals that, and then we'll replace that with UDP socks I. Okay, that should be good. Oh, need curly braces because I have more than one line now. Yeah, and then when we're pushing the mbus, we're going to do UDP socks I. We're going to push using the tag packet we just allocated, and the size is going to be 49 times 4. All right. After we've pushed them, we'll push them all first, and then we'll do another loop. And then we'll do a peek. So we'll do var peek buff equals p.malloc 49 times 4. And then we're going to peek mbuff UDP socks I, and we're going to peek into peek buff and the exact same size, 49 times 4. Then we'll do a debug log peek I equals I data equals p dot read 4. All right. Now we have code to be able to test if we can properly push and peek. We should be able to properly push because we did do that on the streams with Teamstar, but peeking was where we had issues. So let's see if it works. Hopefully it does. Undefined is not an object. Okay, let's fix that. Undefined is not an object. Let me see that error again. That doesn't make sense. Undefined is not an object. Evaluating UDP socks I equals create UDP loopback sock. Why? Why is this not an object? What am I missing? Goddamn JavaScript. JavaScript errors are just... They're just useless, man. I don't know. I don't know why they are the way they are. Do I have to do... that maybe? Let's back out and try it again here. Yeah, that fixed it. Stupid ass JavaScript. That's what annoys me so much about JavaScript, man, is like it's loose until it's not on the typing. Like you can like I don't know, whatever. I did crash WebKit, which is a problem. Oh, it's on the peak actually that crashed. Um, and you can see here like peak is not the peak isn't working, and I don't know why. It's okay. I saw some of spec streams at 4 a.m. Yeah, my streams have been a little bit crazy in the times they've been running. Many people don't notice time changes at all. Everyone uses their phone as a clock. Yeah, I mean, I don't like daylight savings time, but as time has gone on, it has at least been easier to deal with. Where there's basically no analog clocks anymore, so the time change is mostly invisible outside of your internal clock, like your for sleeping and stuff like that. But at least devices are pretty much universally going to be synchronized to the correct time now. Z says he notices it every time everyone is suddenly an hour off. Yeah, for people who don't observe daylight savings time, it's got to be really frustrating to like deal with people who do. Our podcast actually changes time for Z like twice a year because of the daylight savings time. He's willing to sacrifice his time zone for Eastern and Pacific, where we observe DST. Um, so, oh man, LM said, I noticed the time change was, the only time I noticed it was when I was working a third shift and had to stay an extra hour. That's messed up. I never even thought about that, but yeah, I guess if you're working during a time change, that would really suck, dude. They do them at like 2 a.m. in the morning or whatever to try to reduce the impact on the business. Like normal business hours aren't really going to be affected by it as much. But yeah, if you're working night shift, that sucks, dude. That would be brutal having to work an extra hour because of that shit. I'd be kind of upset, not gonna lie. Yeah, our peaking isn't working, which is like I don't understand how it can't be working because Slears Govey does it, but I just no. Okay, so currently I don't return these. Let me return the return values of the syscalls so I can try to see what the hell's going on. This we can just change this into 10 or something. If it doesn't work on the first 10, it's not going to work on the latter 118. So we'll do RV equals peak buff. RV equals RV. Let's see what it's returning, because this doesn't make sense. I quit a minute early when it's time for a leap second. Since I'm working at home, I'm pretty bad at keeping time. Funnily enough, pretty much all the places I used to work at, when it came to like punching in and like clocking in for your hours worked, they were never on a minute, like a per minute basis. Um, it would most of the time it would round to like the nearest 7 minutes. So if you were 7 minutes early punching in, you wouldn't get credited for those 7 minutes early. Similarly, if you were 7 minutes late, if you were within that window, you wouldn't lose those minutes for like working time. You would still get a shit, but you wouldn't lose the minutes on like the tracking. I don't know why they did it that way, but yeah, you basically had like a 14-minute window where as long as you were in that, you would be clocked for your shift start time. But I've never had a system where it was like accurate to the minute. It was always like the nearest 5 minutes or the nearest 7 minutes or whatever. Or I just didn't clock hours and they like trusted me to work the hours I was given. We do every 6 minutes, so an hour breaks down into 10. Yeah, that makes more sense. 6 minutes, yeah. Are you SSHing into the PS4? No, the UART log I have up is reading over serial. Um, the PS4 doesn't have an SSH daemon. You can run one if you run a payload or something, but the system by default doesn't have an SSH daemon running. There is no shell on the PS4. There is, but the shell for them is like what handles the menu. There's no like, bash or something. I just found out about the stuff from MVG channel the other night when he posted about jailbreaks. Oh, cool. Yeah, I saw MVG Modern Vintage Gamer for those unacquainted. Yeah, I saw he did a video a few days ago on that. It's crazy how much like influence he can bring into the PS4 scene when he does videos. And we need it, man. We need more people in the PS4 scene, so I welcome it for sure. So the return value we're getting is hex E, which if I remember correctly, is E and val. I need to refresh my memory of error codes. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Hold on a minute. Oh, right, E is 14. E fault. Oh, E fault. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I might possibly know why. Let me just verify. No. I was thinking. No, I was thinking for some reason that when you receive data, you had to pass size inside of a buffer, but you don't. I don't do that in my POC. So why is it giving efault? Because efault suggests that I'm passing a bad address. But I don't know how I'm passing a bad address because peekbuff is p.malloc. Like, let me just debug log what that is. Peekbuff equals peekbuff.toString 16 because we want it in hex. 0x prefix 2. Why is it doing that? Let's find out. So using UART to get kernel logs? Yeah, exactly. We have a patch installed so that we can read data over UART, and I've soldered to the pads. So these are valid addresses. I can tell you that right now. I don't know why it's giving efault. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, sorry. E and val is hex 16. That's 22. So yeah, hex E efault. How am I getting efault, dude? Let me look at this again. Like, what? Recipe from sock. That's a raw like socket descriptor. Let me do another debug log. Let me do sys recipe from plus sock plus out data plus size. Let's see exactly what's getting passed at the syscall here. This is faulty. This doesn't make sense. I mean, these values are reasonable. I don't know why it's not working. Let me just double check the size. 196 translates to hex C4. I'm pushing in I'm thinking maybe I'm reading more data than I'm pushing in, but I don't think that makes sense either because 49 times 4 is hex C4, and the sizes I'm getting on the recipe from is hex C4. So doesn't the recipe from send to also take a sock address as a param? Might want to use send recipe. Let me verify that. I don't think they don't in my POC. Right? Like in my exploit POC, we go to push mbuff. Sock in data size. Because we've already connected the socket to the address. So yeah, I mean, you can pass an address, but usually, like, you shouldn't have to. It should take the address that you've already connected to. So, what's going on? I guess I can try passing the address and send to. And first of all, okay, let me check if the send to is working because I didn't actually check the return value of that either. I'm pretty sure it does, but let's just check. Let's move this up too. Log push buff. I equals I. RV equals B. Let's just see what it shows. I'm almost certain the push is working, but I just want to validate that that's actually the case. That I'm not taking myself down a rabbit hole here. Somebody mentioned I'm surprised that I never knew you could get logs using Mira by SSHing into it with Telnet. Yeah, whoa. This is what? What, dude? Okay. Let's get to this in a second. I will finish off what I was saying. Yeah, Mira runs a so they run a kernel log server. I don't know why I'm saying they, because I'm part of OpenOrbis. But yeah, Kiwi makes it so Mira runs a kernel log server, which it'll pipe the contents of dev klog into like a socket like a server socket that you can connect to. Um, that is viable. A lot of people do get logs that way because you don't have to solder to the pads on the system. That said, I hate that method because when you're relying on a socket like that, um, if the system crashes or something, you're probably going to miss a lot of data. You're not going to be able to read out the panic information. Whereas with UART, you are always going to get that information because it's directly from serial, right? You don't have to rely on the networking stack. So I recommend people who are doing like a lot of system debugging to solder. It's it's a world of difference. You will notice it immediately compared to using network based communication for getting the kernel log. Um, dude, okay, like I don't know. This doesn't make a lot of sense because I'm getting the push is failing every other push, which is just like what? How does that even make sense? These are all different sockets, dude. It's like how is it failing on 0 but then working on 1 but then failing on 2 but then working on like what? This is basically like a 1-to-1 thing of what I'm doing in my. Let me copy this into a fucking thing. I'm tired of it scrolling on me. Like this is a 1-to-1 pretty much of what I do in my POC. Right, right here. But why is it failing every other send? Okay, here we have an undefined on 75, which I don't know how that happens either. Something's not right. I don't know exactly what corruption is happening here, but this is this is bullshit. And then the peaks, every single one of them fails. So like you would expect, at least, okay, let's just accept for the moment that every other push fails, which doesn't make sense, but let's just say, okay, whatever, fine. Um but then shouldn't every other peak work too? Apparently not. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm gonna check the push to try to figure out why it's failing. We're gonna do an Erno printout, which we can do by reading 8 Erno address, which I already have set up. Although actually, Erno should be getting returned from the syscall, because the syscall wrapper does check if it returns -1 and loads the Erno value into the return. So that doesn't. I don't know if this will give us anything, but we'll find out. Let's check. Erno is 27 on some of those pushes. One of them was 9. That was probably one of the ones where it failed to open it properly. Yeah, where it was undefined. So 9 is probably like E bad FD or whatever. 27 though, I don't know what that is. File too large? What? No, wait, hold on. That doesn't make sense. That's got to be a stale value or something. That makes 0 sense that we'd be getting that from a push. P dot write 8 Erno address 0. We're gonna clear it and check it again. I don't see any way that I'm getting like file too big in that case. Dude, we're still getting. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna check Sirs POC to see, like his PS4 POC, to see if he does anything different, because this is some garbage. This doesn't make sense. I want to like blame Sony and say that they changed something, but at the same time, changing like rest feed from and send to would be really, that would make it tough for game devs, I think, if they did that. So I can't see them like having a justification to do that. Dude, he does the same thing I do. Oh wait, actually, there is one mistake I think I can spot. I should have noted. No, actually, does this work in JavaScript? You can do a pipeline for an OR, right? Yeah. Okay. So it's not that. Never mind. I thought I was trying to be charitable. I thought I messed up, but no, that should work. This operation should be evaluating true, or to what we need for the flags. Dude. His... Okay. Have I lost my mind? Because his POC does the same shit I do. He didn't modify it at all for PS4. The peak works the same way, the pop, push, everything works the same way. Like, what? This doesn't make sense. I don't understand the PS4, dude. How is push or how is send 2 broken in this manner? I think I'm gonna have to do this on all the things, man. Let me just like print out all the values. Don't wait for message peak. Oh shit, where did they go? I did not mean to click that. Plus 0, 0. Right. I'm gonna do this on everything. There's a bad value getting passed somewhere. There has to be. This one just has message don't wait. Sys to sock. Then we have in data. We have the size, and then it's all zeros from there. Okay. Let's just print out exactly what's being called. I do have to go back to the PS4. It's sick. This isn't even related to the exploit. This is just like normal system call usage. It doesn't make sense. Okay. So sys send to. Let's look at that first. So we're sending to file descriptors. Makes sense. So the first argument is fine. The second argument is fine. That is a valid pointer. 196. That should be getting passed for the push and buff. Let me just go to the definition I have here. That should be the size. Which, yep, 196 is XC4. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't understand. I'm wondering if there's memory corruption in WebKit. It's messing with things. I feel like that's unlikely because the 5.05 exploit was implemented using these same like p.malloc primitives and stuff, but something's not adding up. Maybe something got broken in the syscall chain. Like how the ROP chain runs syscalls, I don't know. But the values I'm passing are valid. And they're not working. Which makes me think it's gotta be some low-level corruption happening when running ROP chains. Which is like the worst. Because debugging that shit is infuriatingly annoying. But that's the only thing that makes sense. 20E50 is a super large number. No, isn't it supposed to be 20E50 or 20E5 8,000? No, that makes sense because WebKit a lot of the time, I don't know why, but the way the PS4 maps memory, um like let me pull it up in calculator just to better demonstrate my point. This bit in the upper 32 bits has always been set in WebKit as long as I can remember. This has been 2. So it is large. It is larger than like a 32-bit integer, but the way the PS4 maps WebKit into memory, it always maps it with that bit set. These lower bits are going to be randomized by ASLR, but this bit has always been the same for me. I mean, the send 2 is the big one that makes 0 sense. Absolutely 0 sense. Let me just check something crazy here. Let me just do something kind of wild. RB equals plus RB. I'm gonna do it separately from the WebKit return and see if there's something in the way the function returns in JavaScript that's like messing with it. I think that's extremely unlikely because I've never observed that before, but I'm kind of like grasping for straws here because this is some weird behavior. Well, I'm not totally sure how to explain this. Out of all the stuff I've done post-exploitation on the PS4, this has got to be like the least amount of sense I've ever seen. I'm opening all the descriptors, all the sockets the exact same way. I'm literally in a for loop. It could not be more similar in how I'm opening the sockets. I'm literally doing this. I'm calling the same function every time. But every second socket, it can't send data to. And the reason it's saying it can't send data to it is file too large. Let me change something else here. Let me just change how I'm reading Erno. Maybe the read 8 is throwing me for a loop and it's actually a different error. I don't know. I wouldn't even mind if the Erno actually made sense, but it doesn't. The Erno makes 0 sense. Let me try it with just a read 4. See if the read 8 primitive is bugged or something. Spec C above, maybe this corrupt packet buffer -27. Packet buffer is corrupt. Well, that's a result of the exploit. That's, if I remember correctly, that's for like the fix up post exploitation. that's different. This is before, like, we haven't even done any breaking of kernel integrity yet. This is stock kernel that's doing this garbage. Okay, a read 4 is giving me 39, which means the read 8 primitive might be messed up. Or I might be misusing it, because I forgot read 8 does return an int64, and I wasn't reading the low and highs. So, although int64 should have a toString method on it for converting it to a string properly, so that doesn't make sense either. But anyway, whatever. Let's just forget about int64 for now. I'll maybe look at that later. Let's see what 39 is. Is this a more reasonable Erno? Destination address required. Okay, that's a lot more reasonable. And it's funny because somebody said something to that effect earlier about having to specify a destination address. Now, that's really weird because, like I said, in my POC, I don't do that shit. I leave addresses null. But I suppose, like, I can specify an address in that field. I just don't know why I have to, but whatever, I guess. Like, if it'll work, then I'll try it. What's the last field of send to? Let me see what it is. Send to, uh, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I have flags. Yeah, my bad. Flags have to be 0. Then it's the, oh god damn it. Wrong place for it. Right. So sock data size flags address, right? Sock data size flags address. Yeah, okay, good. And we'll do that on the peak too. Maybe that'll fix the peak. I mean, I can hope. Do that on everything. Just to see if it makes a difference. Alright, let's give it a shot. Now I'm just getting a different error. I'm just getting... I think the PS4 is trying to psyop me or something. Now I'm getting a totally different problem. Now I'm getting 63. And all of them are failing. Not just every other one, but all of them are failing. E-name too long. Okay, let me check something really quick. Is the send to using... Okay, fair enough. This is actually... This issue at least makes sense. I was passing the address of... Or the address of the address size. I need to pass the actual address size. Like that. Right. Okay, that makes sense, I think. Is there anything else I want to tweak while I'm here? Peak mbuff, maybe. Just look at how it's called. 49 times 4. Yeah, that's reasonable. Okay, let's try this. That should fix the pushes at least. I hope. Is that 63 also hex? Yeah, so sorry, I did see what you put in chat. And I saw that you called me out for not reading chat much. I do try to read chat. It's hard to keep up when I have the PS4 screen going. Because I lose a monitor entirely, which I usually use for monitoring chat. Yeah, so that is exactly what happened, actually, is in 64, the N64 class has this quirk that I should actually go fix because it is really confusing. And I totally forgot about it. But when you mentioned it in chat, it kind of, a light bulb went off. The N64 class, when you do a p.read8 and it gets converted into a string, it converts it into a hex string. But when you do a p.read4, it returns a real value, which then when JavaScript converts into a string, it's a one-to-one. It's like an A to I, right? So yeah, p.read4 is being printed in decimal, p.read8 is being printed in hexadecimal. There's like a desync there. And I really got to fix that because that was the reason why I was having difficulty with the error. Oh, dude. Oh, I accidentally just closed. One moment. I just closed the command prompt I was using. Ah, man, we're having fun on this stream today. Sad. Five. Two. What was it? URL. Oh, now it doesn't work anymore. Now it's saying it can't find the serial module. found it before, though. Just hold on, dudes. I'm just trying to fix Python real quick. Okay, I think I got it working again. Yeah, there we go. I'll pull it back up, and I gotta make it so you guys can see it again. I also failed hard. Tomorrow will be better. Yeah, it happens, dude. It happens. For sure. Okay. We have UART back up on screen. Now I'm gonna check what I'm gonna run it again because I accidentally closed the terminal, so I lost that debug information. For those wondering why I'm even using that little right-click menu, I have to because my mouse is broken. Or, it's not totally broken, but it has an issue with the right-click, where when you right-click, it'll often double-click. And when you do that on, like, command prompt or on terminal or whatever, like, a right-click copies, and then if you're not selecting anything, a right-click will paste. So if I copy a bunch of data and then paste it in the terminal, it's not good. It often breaks the terminal. So that's why I have to do it that way. I have a janky ass mouse, so. Okay. Dude, oh boy. Oh man, now we're getting a different error now. Alright, dude. 56. Socket is already connected. So, if I don't specify an address, it tells me that I need to specify an address. If I specify an address, it tells me that it can't connect because it's already connected. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't know why the PS4 is like this, dude. I don't know why everything has to be a joke. I hate this system. I just don't get it. Like, if it didn't need an address, then why did it tell me it needed a fucking address? If I remove the address, it's still not going to work. So, like, what does it want me to do? I don't know. This doesn't make sense. Like, if anybody ever asks why people, like developers who work on the PS4, hate their life, this is why, dude. Shit that's like POSIX standard that works on regular Unix systems, like if you run this on a BSD VM, it's pristine, it's fine. But like on PS4, nah, man. Sony says no. Like, your shit doesn't work here. You have to write it in a dumb way for it to work. Like, I don't get it. RESTv send only requires a socket. The problem is, let me take a look at the man page for that. But I'm pretty sure there's a problem. Like, we can't just use RESTv. Yeah, I mean, I can change it to a RESTv send, actually. It looks like it should work. Just double check on the send side of things, but... Yeah, I can attempt it. Maybe it'll work. I don't really hold out too much hope anymore for this kind of shit, but... we'll give it a go. So that's send, RESTv. I think that should be everything. This is one thing that's good about how I have, like, everything centralized into the push and pop peek functions, which Sirs-Govee does as well. By keeping it centralized, we can just do the changes there, and it's good everywhere. All right, let's give it a try. Honestly, I don't expect it to work though, because internally they're using the same functions in the kernel, right? They're all using kern sendit or whatever it's called. So we'll see if it works, but yeah, I mean, now it fails just with a different error. 22 is the inval, right? Um, there's one other thing I can think of that might be happening here, but I very much doubt it. But I'm gonna try it. Um, actually, the way I'm calling send is technically technically wrong because I changed it from send to send or send to send. So these shouldn't be there. Now, in reality, that shouldn't matter because when a syscall is called, it only checks the arguments that it expects. So if you pass arguments on the tail end that are just like whatever, it shouldn't make a difference. But maybe it does. I don't see how it would, but it's possible it does. So let's just try that. We'll remove our other arguments. Actually, I'm going to pass 0 explicitly for other arguments. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So now we have 6 arguments there, 6 arguments here, and this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this should work, right? Yep, because flags here is just going to be 0, and then the peak is going to be the flags that we want. Actually, we probably want to specify message don't wait here too, but that's kind of irrelevant. We're not even calling pop and buff yet, but for the future, we do want to specify that flag probably. All right, let's see. Yeah, I mean, specifying those arguments shouldn't make any difference. Like you said, IAPR shouldn't make a difference, but it's PS4, so you never know. All right, now I'm getting a different error no. Forget the beep counter, dude. I think I need a counter of how many different air no's I get for one syscall. Now I'm getting 9. 9 is my new magic number. Which is, now it's saying the socket descriptor is bad. 100%. Something is fucked in the ROP chain. It's gotta be. Because now, like, I just rearranged all those, or I made the arguments proper and even passed in 0 for the other ones, and now it's saying the file descriptor I'm passing is bad. And if I look at the log, I mean, I didn't look there, but I almost guarantee the sockets are not bad. If I look at the array values, these are valid sockets. So, yeah, these are all valid file descriptors. And it's saying they're not. So, yeah, dude, something's messed up in the ROP chain level. When it's starting, like, when it's running a ROP chain and it's popping the arguments into the registers and invoking the syscall instruction, something in that chain has corruption. And it's passing arguments that are bad to the syscalls. I don't know how, honestly, because it's got to be some kind of recent change that I made that I maybe forgot that I made or something, because this wasn't the case on 5.05 WebKit. So I might just have to wipe the directory and start clean again and just step through the ROP chain, make sure things are happening as I am expecting them to, because this is absolutely an issue at the ROP chain level. I'm pretty much like guaranteed on it now. Yeah, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wipe the WebKit directory and start fresh. The stream, I can't stream for too, like, I couldn't stream for too long today. This is kind of where I wanted to cut it off, was like just under 2 hours. I was hoping to get to the point where we are getting to the kernel panics and using the beep counter. I obviously didn't expect to run into this issue where the ROP chains in userland are completely messed up, but that's the only thing that can explain this behavior. Especially when I looked at Sersgovi's POC, and he doesn't change the way he calls these syscalls. He calls them the way that he did in his original POC too. So there's something up in WebKit. So I've got to dig into that and fix it, which is going to take me a bit of time, but I'm going to do that off stream because I've got to eat. I haven't eaten yet and I'm starving. So I am going to cut off the stream here. We will do probably another stream tomorrow though, especially where I was hoping to get further today on the stream. I think I'll do another stream tomorrow. Yeah, today's just a bad day, man. Solar flares are hitting the earth or something. I don't know. I think there's solar flares today. Dear diary, today I considered going into woodworking instead of working with computers again. Yeah, this is one of those days where I should just go work on a farm or something and just give up technology because I've just been getting gaslighted the entire stream basically. Ever since I stopped, as soon as I moved from the BSD VM to the PS4, it was like anything logical, just throw it out the window, dude. It's gone. Whew. It's sped away. It's a Lamborghini. You're in a shit bucket. You're in a Volkswagen or something, man. You're not catching it. Logic's gone. You're in PS4 land now. The only way things make sense is if you're on LSD or something. Because, yeah, I don't understand PS4 sometimes. But yeah, we will continue the stream tomorrow. Or hopefully tomorrow, as long as nothing comes up. But yeah, probably tomorrow because I wanted to get further today. But yeah, WebKit's just been dumb. Thank you to everyone who tuned in though. Sorry we couldn't get as far as I'd hoped on the PS4 port. We're basically right at scratch on the PS4 port, but you know, sometimes that happens. That's just how it is with PS4. And I will quickly say, like, that is exactly why I do not give ETAs. This days like today. There was no way I could have anticipated this. And if somebody gives an ETA, like if I gave an ETA, like let's say, oh, Jailbreak's coming out tomorrow, and then like I get into these types of issues, that's gonna end up pushing it back, right? So these are the kinds of things that make exploit times basically completely estimatable, really, because like if I was running this in normal system operation and I wasn't using a WebKit ROP chain to run this, it would work. But because I'm using a WebKit ROP chain and I'm relying on userland corruption, the userland state is no longer intact. So it's possible that things don't work the way you expect them to at that point. It's not like a normal system. A console is very different in how you like run payloads. Because on normal systems, you can just like launch read write execute memory and launch that payload. Whereas on PS4, you have to rely on ROP chains, which makes things a lot more difficult. All right, so we'll someone clip that ETA. God damn it. I mean, hey, that's what. I mean, if there's anything the Twitch clip feature is good for, it's for clipping things out of context, right? So yeah, go for it, I guess. Use it for its intended purpose. Godspeed. That said, though, yeah, I am going to be, cutting off the stream here. I'll see you all again when I have WebKit fixed and it's not doing this crap to me. Z wants to raid over to Alhazred. For those who don't know who he is a pretty big streamer in the InfoSec space. From what I understand, he does a lot of like try hack me. That's probably what he's doing right now. So we'll raid you guys over to him. I'll see you guys again at some point, and we'll continue. And until then, take care. More Hack the Box? Oh, okay. So he's doing Hack the Box.